So how do you get it turned around?
Yeah, that's going to be a little bit of a challenge. So we would have to do the same thing with yours.
So let me see here, because I do have a USB.
Yeah.
So let's check this out here for a second.
Good morning. That's nice.
It should mute.
Good morning, everyone. This is the Secord Lake Association meeting. Our normal helpful person is not here. So we are going to be doing our best to run this technology ourselves. And I'm going to go ahead and turn this around because we'll be able to use yours as the monitor and control. Got it. So here we go. All right, Phil, you're on.
Well, good morning, everybody. This is a board meeting. It'll be official, first part of it. Then we have some guests I will introduce. But anyway, I'm calling the meeting to order. Introduction of guests we have with us today are Joel Vernier. He is the Secord Township Supervisor now. Karen Moore, the Gladwin County Commissioner Chairman. She's on with Zoom this morning. She told me she'd be available via Zoom. And I have Mike Such. He's presently now a county commissioner. And Tony Marshall, he's Barrett Township supervisor. And we have Bill Bowman. He is Secord Township trustee. That's our guest this morning. Tammy, I didn't get a chance. Could you maybe take minutes? We're short a secretary this morning. Yep. And I need to do roll call for board and for our purpose. So if you'll do want me to do the roll call, you just, okay.
That'd be fine.
So our roll call we need to do, and then Phil Dask present.
Chuck Secord, Vice President.
Susan Morgan, treasurer.
Sammy Johansson, present.
Richard West.
Okay. So that's our roll call. We need a motion to approve previous meeting minutes that were sent out to all of us. If you had a chance to read, if there's no additions or corrections, I'll ask for a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion passes. Secretary report is usually Jeannie Baylor. She is gone right now, so she has not submitted any report at this time, so we'll put that on hold. But we have Sue Morgan with us today as treasurer's report. She's our treasurer. Go ahead, Sue.
General fund, and this was as of April 15th, $17,106.34. Our Secord Dam fund was of April 15th. Secord Dam fund, there was a service fee for $17, which I took $17 from the general fund and put it into the Secord Dam fund.
Okay. Is there any questions on the treasurer's report? Now we'll need a motion to approve.
Motion to approve it.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Treasury approved. Approval of bills. Sue, we have a couple bills.
Bills, one is for the PO box in Gladwin, for 12 months, it will be $56. Bill, $50. PO box for Gladwin, $50 for the annual.
Okay, so those two bills are for us. Aye. Bills approved. We're going to reports. Turn it over to the committee. We have a membership committee. Excuse me. So Sue Morgan is
99 members paid through 2021, 26 members paid through 2023, 76 members.
you're gonna need to really speak up louder.
Okay,
So they told me that we could hear the music here, but they're not hearing it. That's a good thing. If not, I'll try to correct that, okay?
I think it's.
What's that? Not hearing it now, so hopefully that's a good thing.
bear with us, do this Zoom thing. Getting kind of used to it, but it still presents its challenges. Anyway, so in membership, I was brought to my attention if we go online under the association, I'm going to ask our IT people, which is actually Sandy Sikora. She's not with us today. If we can put something in there as you bring up your name, it tells you if you paid. I've had a few people ask me, they're not sure if it's or not. And so I actually went online and I put my name in, which I paid for, and it says my dues are due. You need to make a little change there. So hopefully that'll happen maybe in the near future. So we'll move on then to, and along with membership, our dues run on an annual basis. So every January, dues are due for that year, calendar year. And some of you have paid 5 years, but some, if you haven't, then for dues this year, they're due if you haven't paid. So I'm going to mention that. We'll move on to communications with Chuck Secord as our chairman there.
With the communications committee, so far this year we've sent out a substantial amount of communications, but since the last report out, we communicated a notification of the open board position to our membership in the lake community, assisted several members in obtaining Full Lakes Task Force survey by facilitating communications with PSC. And we have responded to several questions about SAD assessments and lake levels. And we continue to have member volunteers researching news outlets, the Full Lakes Task Force website, and the FERC e-library to seek information relevant to Secord Lake. And we continue to take steps to improve communications with our members in the Secord Lake community. We've got a new communication that's going to be going out fairly soon with a member's reflections on everything that they feel that we have seen on all the sites. So, and that's about it for right now.
Okay, thanks, Chuck. And I forgot, we did roll call. Rita Lewis is also on Zoom this morning. And did I forget?
It's this guy.
Okay. Steve Slaga. Okay, yeah. Steve's here. He's actually helping us run this thing. But Rita is on Zoom and she is the chairperson for promotions. And I don't know if she can be unmuted, if she has any input at this time.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Rita, we can.
Good morning, everybody. There is no report right now for promotions. I'm just getting started working on that, so hopefully next time.
Okay, thank you. So Rita is also present along with Steve here. So fundraising, we'll turn that over to Chuck.
Fundraising. This year, our major fundraiser is going to be a golf scramble. I don't know if you can see this here, if you can zoom in on it or not, but these are going to be going out to businesses as well as a registration form. We will be putting those up on the website fairly soon. It's going to be a 4-person golf scramble starting September 25th at the Gladwin Heights Golf Course. We are having our first fundraising committee meeting next Saturday. So next month I will have a lot more information to share with everybody. And we're looking forward to having a full golf outing. So if anybody is interested, please contact us. We can get you the registration form after next Saturday. And I'm looking forward to watching Phil golf for the golf scramble.
Okay, thanks, Chuck. Well, there'll be more on this golf outing coming up, but it will be a fundraiser. Next committee we have is elections. They don't happen until August, so I don't think there's any, Jeannie's not with us today. I don't think there's any report to do there. So unless somebody's here that has something to add to elections at this time. Nope. No. Under business then, I have the only business I really have is a letter writing campaign by our lake community. And I think I'm gonna defer this. I think Joel is going to help address this when he makes his comments after this. So we're going to be talking about later in the meeting about a letter writing campaign, and Joel's going to explain what's going on there and how we can help as a league association. So we'll delay that comment later. Is there any other business from our anything else I need to bring up? Okay. Now it's time for president's comments. I'm just, I hope I speak loud enough. I don't know how this is projecting out there, but I want to thank everybody for attending via Zoom this morning. It's a beautiful day. I wish it could be in person, but you know, times just don't allow it. You should know that we meet as a public board meeting the third Saturday of every month in April through October. So usually 10 o'clock, things may change slightly, but that is normally what we'll be doing through the summer months. We are public board meetings, so we can take public comment. And hopefully, I have requested the use of the Secord Eagles Pavilion because it's considered an outdoor setting. And we can get more people to attend. I'm not sure how that's going to work yet. Not sure how Michigan and COVID regulations will be in place. So we'll just have to wait and see how that's going to work, or if it's going to work, but we'll keep you informed as we move forward. So anyway, not quite 1 year ago, actually it's a month short of a year, our lake life changed drastically by a matter of 1 day. Disaster. Last summer, emotions ran high. There was a lot of emotions, but the Four Lakes Task Force stayed on course. They stayed focused. And I can say, because of that, we, meaning Gladwin and Midland counties, own the dams now. So, and because of that, we were able to work both on Secord and Smallwood Lake throughout the winter months, and they're still working on them to do the critical repairs and to do structural, I guess, the stabilization, we'd call it. So they're working on that. We were able to do that because of we got through bankruptcy and condemnation, and that was a big job. So we'll get it done. So we're moving forward. So anyway, all four lakes are getting addressed at this time, but they did do the dam repairs on Smallwood, and Secord released the structural repairs a little bit, but there's still a lot has to be done. So a lot has to be done before the federal and state government will give us a permit to raise our water levels. And it's not just construction, but it's the financing, the permitting, the bidding, grant writing. There's just a number of things. The list goes on. We're going to be dealing with the assessment district issues this summer. So there's a lot of things to do this year to get us to the point of construction. And then I know that our lake community, including myself, we're not happy about the timelines that we hear and we see all the time. And I know none of us are happy about that, but it is what it is. I think I'm confident sitting on the board of the Four Lakes Task Force that we're doing everything possible to comply with that timeline that was mentioned. And if not, I think we're trying to actually improve the timeline if all possible. So just hang in there. What we need right this summer and what we need going forward is our community, lakes community support of the efforts that are being done. I mean, there's a lot of work being done, and we need to support that to move forward. The other segment I have just under comments is that what is your association? What does the association do for you as a lake owner? That's always asked. Well, basically, it's simple. Our association is has been drawn up to provide a common voice for our community. That's pretty much it. To that, we tried to bring up different interests. Our disaster with no water
Do
has
you believe this?
put all our focus on.
He said to him, yes, Lord. I believe that you are the Christ, the Son of God, he who is coming into the world.
Gotta hang on.
Oh, there. If we could ask everyone to mute their phone. Yeah.
Anybody online, their microphone right now would be good. We're getting a little background noise. So if you can mute for now, that would be good. Anyways, you know, we're supposed to be a voice for our community. Your association has assigned 2 representatives from the Four Lakes Task Force. We're there to make sure is the representatives as we move forward, bringing our water bank. Your association has a special fund for dam restoration, dam repair. We are a 501c3, so if you want to donate, you can do so, and that'll go into a special fund designated for the dam repair. Now, the special fund now can be, when the board decides, which you heard the treasurer's report, we are sitting on some money right now. And our focus is to get our water back. So when we make a donation now to the Four Lakes Task Force, we can make it as a restricted fund for use on Secord only, to be determined by your association board of directors. That's how it will work. We did have a fundraiser in the fall, very successful. A lot of people did a lot of work, but 2 people kind of stand out. That it was Jenny Combs and Jeanette Hauser. They kind of spearheaded this thing. Very successful. We raised $5,000. That was our goal. We turned it over to the Four Lakes Task Force as to help financially support Secord Lake. So that was done, and as Chuck mentioned, we're looking for more fundraisers. We're still short about $10 million, our projections to accountants, as we move forward with this lake restoration. We're still in need of money. So, but I want everybody to know, right up to this date, everything that has been done, legally, engineering, everything, has been done at basically no cost to any lake community individuals. So where the money has come from is donations from individuals, from corporations, from government grants, actually in the tune of about $50 million. So we've been very lucky. We've been out busy pursuing money. We are aware that there is more options for grants going to become available as our new administration gives it to it, or makes it available, I should say. So we're going to be trying to get in line and get some of that to help our cause. That being said, I know there's going to be questions. We're here to answer questions today. If you have them, Steve, am I right? Can they send them in somehow?
Sure, we have a chat function.
Okay, yeah, if you want to
And
explain
I can
that.
unmute, and I can unmute. There's a chat box that they can write their questions to, or if they raise their hand or signal that they want to voice it, then feel free and I'll unmute them.
Okay. So that being said, I have some guests here today, and I'm actually
There's a question?
well, we're not going to do questions yet.
Okay.
We're going to wait. I have our guests here today. I'm going to give them time to speak if they wish, and I'm going to start out with Joel Vernier, again, Secord Township Supervisor. I'll turn it over to Joel. I know he has some comments. Joel, you want to sit in here? Or you want to? You're sit there. All right.
Well, good morning, everyone. How nice to see so many people on a call like this. My special thanks to the Secord Lake Association for allowing me to make a couple of comments. I'd like to break it down in two different areas. One will focus a little bit on some suggestions for letter writing. And if the board approves, Phil, we have Dan Zackett here who has new information on the breakdown of the operating expense. So if it'd be okay for him to talk for a minute on that, that would be great. Okay, I want to focus on letter writing. As some of you may be aware, there is a group that is opposed to paying any type of a special assessment district. And basically they're out of Wixom Lake and they're called FLOP. And let me first off say, I totally support everyone's ability to be heard. Everyone needs to be heard on whether they're for the special assessment district or against the special assessment district. Basically, if you're not in support of a special assessment district, then basically you're not going to be in support of bringing the lakes back. Now, all of us want to get the cost down as much as possible for any of the special assessments. And fortunately, there has been some very, very good news, particularly for Wixom and Sanford, that we're actually going to see a decrease in what the GEI guesstimate was now that they've had boots on the ground and are available to get the engineers all over these dams to find out what needs to occur. Conversely, for Secord, it appears there may be an increase in what the cost will be for ours by about $1 million. So the key focus in moving forward certainly is value engineering, and most importantly, also working with our state and federal legislators, working with foundations, working with individuals that are willing to put up either grants or donations to help bring the cost of the special assessment district down. It would be wonderful in a perfect world that none of us would have to have a special assessment on capitalization to do the rebuilding, reconstruction of our dams. If it was a perfect world, that may be the case. So far, we haven't found that particular formula of getting that done. But you can rest assured that the Four Lakes Task Force and all of us up and down the lakes should be working together hand in hand to be able to find ways to reduce those types of costs. So I do know that people that are opposed to this special assessment district have been quite vocal, which again is totally in our society, we all need to be heard. Every citizen needs to be heard. There is a new billboard that has been put up stating that there's a group against the special assessment district. And there have been letters going into not only our commissioners, but our state legislators and possibly at the federal level also. So my suggestion, and Phil may have some comments on how we may do that. My suggestion is that we consider, if you are fully in support of bringing the lakes back, if you're in support of, and we're looking at two different assessments. One would be an operating assessment, which will be coming up first. And then after that will be the looking at the capitalization assessment for the reconstruction and rebuild. So at any rate, if you're in support of getting our lakes back and you know you're in support of a reasonable special assessment costs, then my suggestion is that we probably need to let the legislators know that. And one of the best ways to do that is to send them letters, to send them emails, and maybe even to give them some phone calls from that standpoint. So again, afterwards, Phil may have some comments on that and direction and suggestions from the Secord Lake Association. But with the special assessment for the operating expense coming up fairly quickly, Don Zackett is here from the board of the Four Lakes Task Force, and he brought us some fresh off the printer information because we've asked for the Four Lakes Task Force to do a breakdown of what these costs are actually going to be as far as a percentage. Don, would you like to come up and just introduce that a little bit for everyone? Sure. Very good.
Speaking to that. Okay.
Good morning. My name is Don Zackett. I'm a member of the Wixom Lake Association and one of their two appointees to the Four Lakes Task Force. I'm here because Joel Vernier asked me about a month ago to provide a breakdown for this short-term operating assessment, how it would be spent. Now, I got to this meeting a little late, so I don't know if it was covered, but basically this is a proposed assessment for a 3-year length of time to get us through the funding and the engineering activities related to rebuilding the dams to modern standards. The rebuilding effort is the capital assessment, right? This is an operating assessment, and Joel mentioned that he was getting questions as to what this would be used for. So I called him this morning, and his very persuasive nature got me to come up here. This information has not been posted on the Four Lakes Task Force website yet. I'm supposed to release it to the county commissioners first, and thankfully we have a new county commissioner here. So I'm kind of within that envelope. Please don't call any of the other commissioners until after Wednesday, otherwise I get in hot water. So you heard it first. So this operating charge is an assessment to run the Four Lakes Task Force organization for the next 2 to 3 years. It is a short-term operating cost, and it will be replaced after that time with a more durable one. But this one is only for a couple of years. Basically, there are 4 activities that need financial support over the next couple of years. One is called operations. The other is program office, which would be the directors and the secretarial help and the financial activities conducted by the Four Lakes Task Force just to keep this thing moving. Acquisition of the 4 dams is included. So the task force agreed to condemn the property, all 4 lakes, the bottomlands associated with it, and the condemnation required that the task force purchase these for market value. That value was $1.65 million over 3 years. So part of this will go to paying for the acquisition of the dams and bottomlands. I'm going to break it down a little bit. I don't have any financial numbers, but I've got the components that are subject to operating spending over the next couple of years. So for instance, program office. This is D&O, Directors and Officers Insurance, Finance and Administration Services, legal expenses, office supplies and subscriptions, taxes and accounting. So that applies to all 4 lakes, and it will be split evenly. Operations. So operations costs would include equipment rental, insurance, auto, property and liability insurance, parts and supplies, salary for the dam foreman and 2 operators that operate across all 4 lakes. Utilities and contract services, so consulting, telecom connections, electric, power lights, snow removal, mowing, de-icing of the dams in the wintertime. That is a labor-intensive activity. And diving inspections, which are part of the required dam safety procedures. There will also be a little bit of cost for the USGS, operation of new USGS gauges. So the task force has entered into an agreement with the United States Geological Service to install 4 additional river monitoring gauges in this area. One of them, in fact, is installed at the Secord Dam Bridge and is now operational. So if you'd like to see the discharge, it's online, publicly available. If you'd like to see how much water is flowing through Secord Lake and out the dam, you can Google USGS gauge They spell it Gage, Secord, Gladwin, and Secord Dam, Gladwin. And if you do that, you'll come up with, it'll bring you right to the gauge page. This is operated, these gauges are operated independently by USGS according to their quality standards, and will be maintained for the next 3 years according to their normal maintenance procedures. Completely independent activity. Task force is not involved in any of the measurements or the display of the measurements, independent. So the rough breakdown of percentage-wise, the operations spending that will be included in this 3-year operations assessment that is being proposed. And I don't know if Phil mentioned it, but the proposal is $200, not to exceed $200 a year per lakefront parcel. The back lots, which are currently assessed, would be scaled appropriately. But if you got a lakefront lot, $200. So the percentages for operations, 42%, for acquisition, 21%, for program office, 36%, and 1% would go towards the annual operations cost that we would pay, the task force would pay to USGS for maintaining those gauges. In case you're interested, there are 3 gauges to be installed. 2 of them are up at the moment. Secord Dam went on first, and it has, you'll see a scratchy plot of the river stage. Stage means the height of the river. And eventually, perhaps 6 months to a year from now, USGS will also include the flow in cubic feet per second. You could compare this, if you wish, to USGS gauge Glidden Road, Beaverton, and you'll see what a long-term gauge printout looks like. So, so the first one was put in at Secord Dam, just downstream of the dam at the bridge. The next one would be at the southern terminus of the Special Assessment District, Sanford Dam. In fact, that gauge will be installed on the old Saginaw Road bridge that leads out of Sanford towards Coleman. It is currently installed, but the data is not online yet. So the other 2, Salt River, which comes in about a quarter mile south of Sanford Dam, and then the Chippewa River, which is enters Midland just at the Tridge and is just upstream of the USGS gauge in Midland that has been present for, has been producing readouts for about 90 years. So the Midland gauge is the one that's used to forecast flooding on the rivers and within this watershed. But there was always a gap because roughly half the watershed, well, 40% of the watershed that that hits the Midland gauge comes from Sanford Dam. 44% of it comes from what I call the Mount Pleasant drainage down through the Pine and Chippewa to the Tridge. It shows up at the Midland gauge. There's never been a good measurement of that flow from Mount Pleasant. So this will provide the task force and everyone in the area with a more accurate picture of where this rain is coming from, or where the runoff is coming from that is running down into Midland. It will also help to improve the flood forecasting for the entire area, is what we're told. The gauge locations were picked by USGS and the National Weather Service. They gave us the advice, we took their advice, and we cooperated with them on that. So that's a summary. If you want to include questions, I can do that. But as I say, don't call any of the other commissioners. Call Mike, I'm sorry. Call Mike, But give the other guys a break. They get a little squirmy if you ask them questions and they haven't seen the information yet. So,
Thanks, Don.
Don.
Just so you know, along with this letter writing campaign, we're going to initiate here shortly. Cliff Hauser, he has offered to help us with that. He actually contacted me this morning, has offered to step up and help. So we got to figure out how to put this together, along with Cliff's help, Joel's help, and we will have some messaging out for you shortly. But it is important that we show our commissioners, our state and federal legislators that we want a lake. I think the majority of us, at least through our association, want a lake. We don't want to see it go back to a river. So we need to make sure that we're heard, because actually the negative few get heard are the loudest usually, and that's unfortunate, but that's how it works. So the positive people, and I know with the majority, I feel the majority is positive on our lake. We need to let our officials know. I'm going to move on to more guests. Now, Karen Moore is via Zoom. I don't know if she has a comment or wants to make a comment. Can we get her or?
Good morning, I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes, Karen.
All
Welcome.
right, well, welcome. Good morning, everyone. I don't want to take up much of your time. I do want to say, Don, there were two of us. So now I know. But no, I tried that website, Mr. Zackett, that you provided while you were speaking, and I'm on the USGS website. I typed in the rest of that, and it's not working. In any event, I agree with what's been said here. We commissioners, I agree with Joel's comment. You know, everyone is entitled to be heard, and just because we may not agree doesn't mean we don't listen, and that we don't, you know, my opinion, quite frankly, means nothing. I'm one person in my districts. I don't, and I represent my district. So I do want to hear from people. I'm on Wixom Lake, so I get when people say I don't want to pay anything. You know, before this event, I didn't have to pay this assessment. I get it, but the event happened. You know, Boyce just Thursday was assessed a $15 million penalty from FERC, one of the largest penalties ever assessed. Well, we can make it $10 billion. They're bankrupt and they can't pay. They won't be paying. And any funds that they may have will come, rightfully so, to more direct victims before FERC, a governmental agency, collects on their penalties. So I hear people say that, you know, the responsible party needs to pay. State and federal governments have stepped up with money, and we keep asking them for that, and we'll continue to do so. Outside funding is important. We're seeing how these amounts have come down. Outside funding is coming in. The Four Lakes Task Force and bodies like the Secord Lake Association and other lake associations, folks are working tirelessly for all of us to bring these lakes back. But we need to stay on task. We need to stay behind the officials who are doing this, ask our questions, voice our opinions, but do understand, like Joel has indicated, I believe for the lakes to come back, there will be some financial assessment. I use the same word that he uses, reasonable. We can't be having people losing their homes. And, you know, it's not unheard of to have assessments on lakes. And so the fact, and I've heard, you know, I've been on Wixom since 1979. I get it. Before we didn't have those assessments, but we're in a different situation now. The counties own these properties. The counties are responsible. So whether it's through an additional outright tax or an assessment, it's where we're at. So we need to continue to seek outside funding. We need to continue to express our opinions, but as was just stated, it's the negative opinions that seem to be the loudest, and we need to hear the people who are in support of this. We need to hear from everyone, because all opinions matter. So reach out to us, reach out to your state folks, reach out to your federal folks, and let them know what you really believe and what you want to see. And I can assure you we are listening.
Thanks, Karen.
Thank you.
Okay, I've asked, Mike Such is here with us this morning at the township. I don't know, he's newly elected commissioner. I don't know if he wants to make comment up here. You want to talk?
Yeah, I think I'll just briefly.
Why don't you come up here and sit in the hot seat? You can up there, you know, and people won't be able to see you. So.
All right, well, thank you. I appreciate the invitation. I wasn't sure what capacity I was going to attend today's meeting yet, but I'm glad to be here either way as the District 3 County Commissioner for Gladwin County. So I would first just like to thank the Secord Lake Association Board for all the work you've done. I know Karen referenced this, and I've seen Phil at many meetings, activities, and the work that all of you put in is to be commended. So if we stay on task, as Karen has suggested, and emphasize the positives, if we can get our voices heard from those people that want the lakes back, and doing so in a manner that's fiscally responsible, and we understand the hardships that several of the residents, lakefront owners, property owners are experiencing, and we take those things into consideration as we move forward, we'll come up with the best solution for all of us, and hopefully that is getting our lake levels back. So that's all I have to say for today, but I look forward to working with you in whatever capacity you feel is appropriate.
Thanks, Mike. So I also have Tony Marshall. I don't know, Tony, you have anything to add?
I have nothing to add.
Nothing to add? Okay, glad you're here. Again, he's supervisor of Barrett Township. And I already talked to Bill Bowman. Is Bill still here? Did he take off?
He left.
He left, okay. He didn't have any comment anyway, so we're good there. Our program basically today was Don's. Okay. Don's done a good job that was important. The assessment is going to be what you're going to be hearing about this summer moving forward. I mean, Four Lakes Task Force cannot move forward without support, financial support. We can't keep getting donations. Well, we're going to try to, but we can't rely on donations and grants. The lake community needs to take some ownership. So there's going to be a lot of talk about assessments. And there's going to be public hearings this summer. You'll be able to give your input. If you don't think your assessment's correct, there's going to be ways to correct it through appeals. So that's all going to be happening. So, you know, you wonder why we're not getting a dam back this year. Well, all these things have to be done, and it takes time. We have to do it in a legal right way. So this summer you'll hear not only the more engineering final reports, but you'll be hearing a lot about assessment and methodology, which is actually being kind of looked at again, because we want to make sure everybody, you know, obviously nobody wants an assessment, but we just simply got to pay for this if we want our lakes back. I'm sure I'm speaking out of turn now, but the government, if we don't want the lakes, they're fine. They'll just remove our dams. And, you know, fine. Obviously, I don't think the majority of us want that. So, I mean, I think we moved up to our lakes to enjoy them. We want them back. With that, we have a couple questions.
I've got something real quick.
Oh, Chuck has a comment.
Phil, speaking about the assessments, we have already had about a half a dozen people contact us saying that the information on the website is incorrect. We have forwarded that to Four Lakes Task Force, contacted the people who have asked the questions, and there have been changes made because information was incorrect. Mostly it was about backlots. With backlots, if you're being assessed, check your deed. It will say that you have lake access or you do not have lake access. And that's the biggest thing that we've been finding. So if it's in your deed that says that you have lake access, yes, you're going to be assessed the special assessment. And that, you know, if you find other things that are wrong, please contact us. We'll be happy to help you. And that's about it.
Okay, well, okay, we're gonna move into like a program of just questions. We have a few questions that were submitted. We have a lot of experts here that can answer them. Not so much me, but we have several people in the room. So the Four Lakes Task Force has several webinars coming up. And like April 13th, that one's done. That was Tuesday. It was an excellent webinar on they were trying to gauge the amount of rainfall. They project into the future, how much water we're gonna have to deal with through weather reports, rain. They have people actually that do this for a living. So that meeting, if you attended, was very interesting. And it also made me more aware how complex this whole design issue is. In fact, one of the GEI engineers said, we normally as engineers do not design a dam without all these studies being done. So we're still waiting for some studies. But he says, we've been asked by the Four Lakes Task Force to speed this up. So we're doing like projections, engineering projections, trying to design our dams, looking at all of what the government's going to ask for. So it's very complex, but there was that meeting. If you look at the website, there's April 19th, they're going to have a meeting to update us on some more costs. Costs are changing. As I think Joel pointed out, or Don pointed out, the cost of the dam repairs are varying a little bit. Our dam has slightly gone up, and that's due to a projection on the spillway. My understanding is they don't want to be too conservative, so they're going to build our spillway have a little more of a spillway than the half PMF, because they think that's what the state's going to demand. So that went up. Smallwood unfortunately went up the most, and I don't know the reason there, but they actually went up the most, and they're going to have to look at that. But actually, Edenville or Wixom Lake Dam went down. I think, Don, get me wrong, it's almost $80 million. It went down quite a bit, and that's just because value engineering, they're looking at it a little bit closer now, how they can save money. And of course, Sanford Dam went down about 40 million, I think. So they're trying to save money where we can, and they will continue to do that. But there's several meetings coming up. Check the website. They're open to the public.
I can record it also. I think they're recorded.
Yes.
They are recorded. You can't meet that timeline. Yeah, they're sometimes at 5 o'clock, and I know people that have jobs that don't work, but they are recorded, so you can go back on there and listen to them. So if you want more understanding, but we haven't even talked yet about the environmental issues that may come up, and that'll be a whole nother interesting thing moving forward. So it's going to be a challenge for us. We did have a couple questions we can answer, hopefully, and I'm not going to keep people here all morning, but the questions, was there any sent today yet?
Yes.
How many we got about there?
Well, we got about 4 or 5 questions.
Okay. These were submitted earlier, and I can actually, this was submitted by our Lake resident, Secord, Chris Ringo. She said, does the Secord Lake Association have plans for a fundraiser or apply for grants to subsidize payment of the assessment with those with limited incomes? So I guess I can answer that. As we point out, we are having fundraiser. We are going to try to, our association is going to financially support as much as we can. And as far as grants go, we have to be a little careful in grants as individual lakes, because we have a grant writer through the Four Lakes Task Force, and we don't want to, they're writing grants on behalf of all 4 lakes through the two big federal government and state government. So we have to be careful we don't go after the same grant or get things complex. So we try to coordinate our grant writing through the Four Lakes Task Force, not the association at this time. Not saying we can't. If we are asked to do it, we will, certainly. And then the other question from Chris Rango, will the Secord Lake Association perform any reviews of Four Lakes Task Force expenses on behalf of Secord property owners and to verify those costs are appropriate and properly allocated to the Secord Lake assessment. I don't think we have, as a board, has talked about that. So my answer there would be, I don't think we plan to do a review of the Four Lakes Task Force expense. I sat on the finance committee. Along on our committee meetings, we have Yo and Yo Associates, which is a CPA firm out of Saginaw that sits there also, that verifies all the expenses, that we make sure we're recording them properly. I feel pretty comfortable about that. If for some reason, and the county, of course, has to feel comfortable that those reports go directly to the county. So I'm thinking there's enough oversight. I don't know. I'll be up to our board, but I don't know why we would have to step in and review the expenses. Then another question is from Dennis Miller. Is Secord Lake probably? Okay, Dennis writes, is there a realistic date that water will be back on Secord Lake? Are all four lakes being done at once, or are they going to be completed based on the least amount of money needed for repair, such as Smallwood first, Secord second, etc.? Well, I can answer that just, all four lakes are being worked on, but they're not all going to come up at once. Secord and Smallwood Lake will be the first two lakes to return. Then comes Sanford, and then comes Wixom because of the complexities and the amount of work that has to be done. But they all are getting, when we hire, I think we're not doing any, just doing structural things right now, but as we move forward, I think the plan is because Secord and Smallwood have the least amount of repair to be done, they will be done first, of course, and then the more complex projects like Wixom, that'll take a couple years longer. But there'll probably be equipment on all four dams, so we're going to try to get this timeline for everybody's best we can. We're going to do everything we can to keep the timeline reasonable for all four lakes, including ours. So I don't know if I answered that. It's a good question, but there is no realistic date when the water will be back. They give a range. The range is, actually the last range was 22 through 24, which to me is, we don't know for sure yet, but 24 probably worst case, 22 I would be iffy. I'm hoping, I'm going out on a limb here as your president. I'm just saying I'm hoping 23. That would be my hopes, but a lot of things have to happen. I mean, and fall in place. All it takes is an environmental issue to come along to set us back. Little issues can come along and cause problems for us, and hopefully none of that happens, but we're not sure. That's all the questions we had. And then Steve had some that were sent in today. Steve, you go ahead.
Yes, just going to go by first names. It seems to be a lot of questions in regards to the hydro situation. Robert states, understanding the future usages of electrical needs with less reliance on fossil fuels, cost of producing electrical power should increase. Can our dam in 20 or so years be retrofitted to produce power?
I can answer that, and the answer is yes. And down the road, it's not really our plan is to be, obviously, I think Don, if I'm wrong, correct me, Don's a little more aware of this, but we have left that door open for future. But right now it was all the permits that would be required would have slowed the return of our lakes down considerably with all the extra permits needed. So we chose to not pursue hydro at this time. But I think down the road, you're right. There's a high demand for that type of energy, and we'll be looking at it. And if it's possible down the road, I'm sure it'll be incorporated. They do cost right now. The Four Lakes Task Force actually analyzed the cost of putting that equipment in versus the return, and right now it didn't seem feasible. But that may change, and down the road, I think the Four Lakes Task Force, as we are in the counties, I guess it'll be up to the counties at that point. But I'm sure that'll be on our mind And we may find a company come in and set us up for hydro, and that'd be great. It would help offset some of our operational costs. So that's it.
I think you answered the question. Kelly had a follow-up that give Robert his dues, that he asked a great question. There's another question here regarding, that's another question that's been asked. So, and has hydropower been ruled out entirely? You've answered that question.
Right.
Kelly also asked the questions, are any of the legislators been invited to a meeting?
Well, our association, no. We try to involve our local officials, commissioners and township supervisors and officials, but we have not had, the legislators have not been invited to our meetings. It may be something we want to do down the road.
We haven't ruled it out.
Yeah, we haven't ruled it out. They could be invited. Certainly, I know at least on Secord Lake, there are people that have connections with certain legislators, and we would love to have them at a meeting. So we'll keep that in mind. I mean, it is a good question, and then I think there's would be some value to it. So these people are normally very busy, but they may, you know, so that. Okay, that'll probably be something we look at down the road.
Hello?
Thank you.
Yeah, can I call you back? I'm in the middle of.
Okay, then we go to Chris asked a question. I personally feel it's a great question. This will probably be directed to you guys, both you and Chuck. Are their names and addresses government officials who should be contacted in support of the SAT?
I actually, you want to refer to Joel? Joel has most of the, you want to answer that, Chuck? I'll defer my answer, either Chuck or Joel.
Well, the communications committee will be putting out a list of the emails and physical addresses for our county commissioners. And also we'll get together with our state representatives, and we'll be putting that together very soon. We're about halfway done with putting that together, and we want to confirm and get all the information correct before we send it out.
Good enough. Don, did you have that's good? Okay.
And federal.
And
Federal
federal.
government. So I guess we're working on that. So you'll have that link. That is good. They need to hear, obviously, according to Karen Moore, the more our officials hear from us, the better it will be for us. So anything else, Steve?
Yeah, Chris replies back with, the economics of hydro do not justify resuming generations. It does not generate enough revenue to cover. The question is about the future of the hydro gone forever, or when the cost analysis dictates a positive value. In which Chris replies back, where is the report of the hydro study and how can it be found?
There is work been done on that. I don't know if there's an official report. Don, can you help me with that?
Couldn't hear the question.
Okay. Don Zackett is actually working more closely with Hydro on Wixom Lake, and he maybe go ahead and tell Don the question again.
The question is basically, there was a study done with regard to the hydro and if it's cost feasible and that, and is there a report on it, and will it be made available?
I don't believe a report has been made available. There was a cost analysis done. Keep in mind that when Boyce was operating hydro on these 4 lakes, there was a wide difference in the amount of revenue that was produced at each dam. For instance, Secord and Smallwood together produced about 25% of the annual Boyce revenue. Wixom, Edenville, produced just over 50%, and Sanford produced about 25%. The hydro facilities on Wixom and Sanford were completely destroyed by the flood. The federal government is not really subsidizing hydro at this point in time. The subsidies are, even though it's a renewable source of energy, it's not considered a green source of energy by the regulators. So there's a lot of subsidy being directed toward solar and wind. And that helps make the economic return on the investment acceptable to the organizations that are putting up these wind farms and solar farms. That's not the case with hydro. So the analysis looked at all 4 dams. 75% of the revenue was completely destroyed by the floods, and the powerhouses being either destroyed or the turbines filled with sand. That renders reinstating those facilities extremely costly, and they produced a low rate of return for the capital investment, even when they were operating correctly. So that brought the conclusion to the task force that at this point in time, it's not economically productive or viable to reinstate hydro. If things change in the future and the government provides additional subsidies to hydro generation, that may cause a different conclusion. But at this point in time, it's been decided not to proceed in that direction.
Okay, I think that answers that.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. Yeah. Okay. A wrap? We're a wrap. Okay, just to wrap up then, I think we need to continue to support the movement to get our lakes back. We're gonna ask for help from our communities. I know, I think Wixom Lake has already put together a campaign to do this, and each lake needs to do this. So we'll be reaching out to everyone. Please join your association. This is where we're going to be working with the 4 Lakes Task Force to get these things accomplished. If you can help in any way, whether you volunteer on a committee or whatever, we could use your help. And I think I'm going to wrap it up with that. I don't know if there's any other comments. I do have one I forgot to mention. I believe it's been, if you go on the 4 Lakes website and you look under donations, Secord Lake Association has been omitted and we're not on there. That's an oversight. It is being corrected, just so you know. We did donate money. Our plans are probably to donate more money, depending on our board decision. And so just so you know, we did donate money. It's just been, it was left off somehow. And I asked for a correction. With that being said, we will meet again. I don't know the date right now, but it'll be in May, 3rd week in May. Hopefully we can do this in person. We'll see how the state of Michigan, what situation they're at that time. Thank you for being here today, and I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
I put a motion to adjourn.
Got support. We are adjourned. Thank you.